Hey guys, and welcome to the Landry family fortune. We have the Landry family and they are moving to town, so we're going to start first with the speed build for this challenge. So, the goal really here is we are building Nisa Landry. She is the grandmother, and this is her dream home. So I really wanted to make it have a focus on her in terms of style, and it's kind of like that's her house and the rest are just living there. They don't really have a say in what goes where. The grandma is still loving. She is willing to give them space and amenities so that they can make something of themselves, because at the end of the day, somebody or everybody has to be worthy to earn the money that she's willing to partake. So, for the purpose of this video, I wanted to make a little bit of a backstory. So, this house was built by Ernie, who was grandpa at some point. And Ernie built this house for her loving wife, Nisa. And yeah, so we're just setting it up a little bit. I always struggle a little with roofs, so this one I'm going for a charming wooden house, and I really kind of like want to have a nice homey but also ancestral feeling to this house. So we might just get back to this one in a little bit. So the layout of the house, I wanted to start with a very nice first floor, and it's going to have the grandma's bedroom, her personal bathroom. There's going to be kind of like a community bathroom for guests and everyone else, as well as a very cozy but fancy kitchen and the living room. So yeah, that's kind of, I guess, like the basic plan for the first floor. And then the second floor, I wanted to have the three grandchildren's bedroom and a little corner somewhere for something else. Alright, so I kind of have the layout ready and I'm starting to focus on the exterior look. So I'm adding some wooden fences and wooden walls. So I'm really going for the wood charm in this one. Again, this house was built by Ernie. Alright, so putting in the wallpaper. So I just want to start with having something on the wall so it starts to feel more lived in before I go back in and select what the interior is going to actually look like. And the goal for this one, since it's kind of like the grandma's dream home, it's to have wallpapers everywhere. So we want patterns, wallpapers, but the color scheme is a little bit refined. And now I'm adding the same thing to the second floor. We need a grand entrance, so a grand door. And let's add some windows. We need some large windows. I have a love for just like large windows in general, but you know, in this case, it was also Nisa's dream windows. So obviously, in the family dynamic, one of the grandkids is already a little bit worthier, and she has the bedroom with the balcony. I'm deciding on black trimmings for the roof just because like it feels nicer with the look we're going for, and just playing with the roof options here to see what kind of works best. When it comes to roof, I don't really have much of a plan. I do have a little plan, but putting it together, that's the tricky part, and I just kind of like try different things until I find something I like. Alright, so I'm also going to have like a nice little backyard for this one. We wanted to have like a really beautiful landscape. So my backstory is kind of like maybe Ernie, he was important back in the day. He did something, he learned a lot of money. And with his life savings, he kind of trusted to Nisa when he died. And it was Nisa's will that it would go to her family, her grandchildren in this case. They don't really have parents. But when they were growing up, Nisa noticed how entitled and lazy some of her grandchildren are, and she realized she wants them, out of love, to find something to make them worthier beings rather than just entitled brats. So this is why they won't get the money unless they become better people, better Sims. Alright, so I'm adding the trash cans here, and I'm just trying to decide on maybe what's the best look to give the exterior. I'm going to also add some, just like the floor around, so it has like a nice kind of like stone look outside. The goal of this house is really, they wanted it to blend with nature. They have a lot of trees around their house, and Nisa loves her plants, so we needed that wooden, warm, cozy feeling everywhere. And it kind of carries everywhere. There's like tones of wood from the exterior that kind of goes in the exterior. Alright, so now the kitchen. I'm deciding on how big I want it, and at this point I think I made it a bit too small, so I'm just gonna go ahead and make the space a little bit bigger. They do have a large plot of land, so maybe we should just go and make it bigger. They also have a rather sizable amount of money for this build, so I'm just focusing on what would Nisa want to get everything started, and we are going to focus on the first floor, like I said. So like everything on the first floor, we want it to be what Nisa would absolutely love. She is a refined older woman with a value for crafts and history. So we're going to let this kind of transpose in the first floor. And the second floor, it's still gonna be nice, but it's not gonna be as nice. And you know what? Maybe it's going to be a lesson to the grandchildren that if they want anything nicer, they can work, they can earn some money and get it for themselves. So that's what we're going for. Maybe giant windows like these are not good for the kitchen, so I might just replace them with smaller windows. This way I can also add the cabinets all around. So let's just come back to that once the cabinet are placed. We want to have the wood tone that really carries everywhere. Also need a dining table, so I want to kind of figure out the placement for that, and the living room. The dining table is kind of gonna go somewhere between the living room, the living area, and the kitchen. So this way it's still one space. They are not like, Nisa might have a lot of money to give away, but she kind of lived and values simple things. So she may have nicer, refined choices stylistically, but when it comes to utilities, there's a limit to how much she spends on how grand she makes her living. So the goal is really like, it's the dream family home. It's Nisa's dream family home that she always wanted to raise her family in. And again, Ernie built it. Alright, so at this point, I always kind of struggle with the platform. Just because I wanted this house to have like a nice platform at the bottom, but I can't seem to figure out what I'm doing wrong in this case. And it's kind of the same for the deck. So if you guys know what I did wrong or what I should do instead, feel free to let me know in the comments. I would love to do better. Every time I build sim houses, that's kind of like my downfall. It's the roof, but the roof is just stylistic. I just try things and I get better at it. But the platform, I must be doing something wrong and I just can't figure it out. Alright, so adding the dining table, again, we're going for a very similar darker tone of wood for everything. And now we're going to figure out the placement of the TV because they do need a TV. So I think maybe having a couch that goes in front of the dining room to kind of not the dining room, the dining table, just kind of like blocking that space a little. We don't want it to feel like the dining table is in the living area and at the same time we just want it to feel like two separate areas but still connected. So just figuring that out. I also just remembered that I did not add any sort of floorings yet, but maybe, it's not a big deal right now because the grid kind of makes me get an idea of what's going where. So I can always just add that later. Okay, so now I really like those armchairs with the patterns. I feel like it's very grandma, it's very dated, and I like them, but they're kind of not working together. So, I might come back to this one. Maybe we need something different for now. So when I build houses in The Sims, I like to kind of like when I see a piece that I like, just kind of take a look at it. I might not always use it in the intended space, but it will come around somewhere again. So just putting that aside for now. I like that chest, but just need to figure out where it's gonna go. And maybe those chairs would be great for Nisa's bedroom. So with her being a grandmom, I imagine her kind of like sitting on those chairs and knitting a little bit, just doing things a nice grandma would do. So as I'm building it, I'm kind of thinking about the characters and what their day-to-day life would be like and how they would be interacting with the space. So I kind of like this couch, but now what I also want is, it's a family of 4, so we want to have seating in the living room for at least 4 to 5 people, in case there's ever any guests over. So I need to find something to go there. I'm adding some embellishment with the plants and just kind of like placing them to get a feel. So maybe rocking chairs would be nice outside because one of them is mostly going to feel empty because I pictured that maybe, when Ernie was still alive, Nisa and her, they used to sit there together when their old neighbors were still around. Things were all different, and while Ernie might be gone at this point, Nisa still sits outside just to reminisce what life used to be like with her husband and remember the memory of him. Alright, so now I'm adding those flooring I waited for. So I'm going with some kind of like rocky, it's like a rocky path, and that kind of like makes the trash can blended a little bit better with the space. I would also like to have more plants outside, so just like not a lot of trees, because this area, I think this is the Tomarang area, it's kind of like got a lot of palm trees and all that, but for the house we want some bushes and hedges eventually, so this might just have to wait for the very end. Alright, so now adding the chairs. I need some light to go outside, so this feels nice, feels very antique. It's kind of like a mix of homey, antique, and just like warm. Everywhere we just want it to feel very warm inside, so when the grandchildren do decide to make themselves worthier, they can enjoy this nice space with their grandmother, and eventually someone else will inherit it. So it might as well be whoever will value the history of this house more, with Nisa's journey and Ernie's part in the story, though he's not there anymore. Alright, so I think these chairs, I'm trying desperately to make it work, but it's not really working. So I like those wooden, like, how do you call it, the rattan chair a little bit better. So you know what, I might go with these ones, and I just have to figure out placement. So let me just add some lights, because at this point it's getting darker, and maybe that will make it feel warmer inside, so I can better imagine the space and how it's going to be. Alright, so I do like these a lot better. It's not what I originally had in mind, but I think it works best with the style and Nisa's story. So we're gonna have these chairs, and I think this living area is really coming together. And I want to have the knitting supplies for Nisa, so I'm trying to figure out if I want it to be in the living room or in her bedroom. So when I work on these, because I kind of like pick pieces that I like and that fits the story, and I just place them around, I don't exactly go room by room. So I start with the basics. The kitchen, I start with it because it tends to be the pricier with appliances and everything, and then everything else I just kind of like start building pieces by pieces. That's kind of how I would approach a puzzle too. It's just like whatever I find goes in the spot it goes, until I can just keep adding to the separate pieces and make it all come together cohesively. Alright, so we're gonna add some doors, and again with the doors, wooden, dogwood everywhere. And let's add a shower. So this shower, maybe it's too big. This shower is going to be the grandchildren, like the shared bathroom. So you just need a shower. There's also going to be a bathroom upstairs that's more accessible to the bedrooms. And this is the shower the bathroom I really want to focus on, because this is going to be Nisa's private abode. So I'm really trying to do things differently in this case, because normally when I build in The Sims, it's all kind of designed for me. It's on my it's based on my choices, based on my preferences. But in this case, I'm trying to stay conscious that this is Nisa's space and not Yugi's space. And I'm just like trying to stay with that. I don't know, like I'm getting a sense of the story a little bit better as I keep this story in mind and see the space come together for Nisa's dream life. Obviously, Nisa hasn't found her dream life yet, because you'll find more about this eventually when we get to the story. But it's really up to the grandchildren, So I'm at this point really liking how this bathroom is turning out. We've had gold accents with it feels like a very royal kind of wallpaper. It feels very, what's the word? Elegant. It's very elegant. So, and I feel like that's who Nisa is as a person. She's very simple. She's very much homey, but she is an elegant old woman. And the grandchildren, they don't need a bathroom as big as hers. They can do that for themselves when they figure out how to. Alright, so now I'm just adding pieces that we need to this smaller bathroom here, and just kind of like trying to make it match the whole house at the same time. So I have a rule. I always go with tiles in bathrooms, and I try to go with wood flooring for houses just because like it's warmer, but bathrooms tiles are much better, and I think it's more functional. Well, in real life it's more functional, I think, to have tiles in bathroom, because when you have like water splatter and everything, it's easier to clean. But you know, the floors don't really get damaged in the game, so I still just like how it looks better to have tiles in a bathroom. I feel like that makes it more of a bathroom. Especially because since this is Nisa's personal bathroom, the wallpaper is a continuation of what's already in her bedroom, so it feels like one cohesive piece, but we still need the distinction a little bit. Alright, so I created this little corner for Nisa, like a sitting area for her, and at first, you know, I really wanted to also have like a little office kind of space somewhere, but maybe that might be something for later. Eventually have like an office, maybe a backyard, like little office den somewhere for her, because maybe Nisa might have enough life experience to write a book, a non-fiction, just an old thought about memoir for Ernie, the love of her life, who's no longer with us. Alright, so now curtain. So my struggle, since I love these giant windows, I feel like the game doesn't always have nice curtains to cater for bigger windows. So I always end up with the same limited choices. So I'm just trying to find something that would work stylistically. Again, it's kind of like elegant, refined, but not over the top, so maybe these will not work. So let me just find something else. If you watch my previous build with the June Moreland storyline, you'll notice that I kind of used the same curtain at some point in both builds, and I think that's because of how limited it tends to be with some features. So it would be nice maybe to have like just like more curtains, and there are features that you kind of like need more to fit some of the new addition to the game, such as just like being able to have like larger spaces and everything. So which I find surprising, because The Sims 3, I feel like it's more customizable in that sense, but The Sims 4 is not so much. So on this note, the first floor of this build kind of came together. So I think I'm going to end this video here, and I will make it part 2 if you want to watch what we do to the upstairs and how we finish this space. So as usual, subscribe if you want to keep up with the story and the build, and don't forget to give this video a like. I will see you all next time. Bye.